Hey guys, Adam Savage here in my cave answering questions from tested patrons. And today's question comes from Jamie VS. And Jamie, Jaimy, VS wants to know, hi Adam, what is your favorite type of wood for building tool storage? I think I've seen you generally use plywood. Any pros and cons to the most general types of panel wood? Oh yes, there are a lot of pros and cons. Yeah. Okay, where do I begin? My bread and butter material here in the shop is 1/2-inch Arctic birch ply. It has many plies. Hold on, I'll show you. We're gonna grab some of that, we'll grab some of that, we'll grab some of this. Yeah, that's good. Okay, what else? We're gonna get, yeah, there's some. Okay, so, oh man. Okay, Arctic birch ply. That's my bread and butter. That is like, it's how I think. 1/2-inch Arctic birch ply. I love it. I mean, I carry plywood. I try and keep a stock of quality plywood of many thicknesses. 1/8-inch, 1/4-inch, 1/2-inch, 3/4-inch, and 1-inch. And I don't use a lot of 1-inch, but I try and keep some of it around here because I like it for its engineering capabilities. But this right here is Arctic birch ply. This is, I think what they call BBC. So it's a I can't quite remember, but it basically is, nobody any longer, except super high-end makers, I guess, make A grade birch ply on both sides. I think the main stuff that you can buy these days is B grade, which is fantastic. B grade on one side and a BC on the other side. I think that's how that breaks down. You can see the plies here. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plies. I became familiar with this stuff at Industrial Light and Magic because this is the ideal material for laser cutting, specifically because it does not have voids inside. Normal plywood like this, and here's some just classic shite hardware store plywood. This stuff is, I could break this stuff with my hands. This garbage plywood. Still totally useful, but I don't think much of it. You can see this is 3 plies here. And plywood is, the reason plywood is so strong because each ply is laid orthogonally to its predecessor. So you get this combined amount of extra strength. But one of the things you don't know is that inside this plywood, when they lay in some of those pieces, sometimes there are voids, and they concern themselves mostly with the outside, not the interior levels. And when you're laser cutting and you hit one of those voids, it can greatly aid you in catching your laser cutter on fire. And that's a bad thing. So you don't want that. So we used a lot of Arctic birch ply for the laser cutting we did at ILM when we were laser cutting frameworks for things. I fell in love with its tensile strength, its rigidity, its smooth surface. So the pros for this are, it has beautiful finishable sides, lots of layers, which means tons of extra strength, no voids, laser cut it all day long. Cons, it's expensive. It's also hard to get. In fact, here in the Bay Area, I'm having trouble finding anyone who will cut it for me, and I can't deal with 4x8 sheets of material in this shop, which means I'm eventually going to buy a track saw so I can deal with 4x8 material in this shop. The problem is that lumber yards don't want the onus of making perfect cuts in a 4x8 to deliver it to you, which makes sense. That's a lot of extra time to spend making perfect cuts. But it also means that it's really hard to get this stuff. So I actually buy it at a kind of a premium on Amazon. But again, it's expensive. If you go and ask for finish ply at a normal hardware store around America, and I discovered this while I was on tour and trying to find Arctic birch ply, because I think about this stuff so specifically in terms of its engineering capabilities that if I am thinking about this stuff and you bring me this stuff, this 3-ply with a veneer on each side, this is also garbage to me because look, if all you have to do is fill a hole with a panel, this is fine. This is fine. But if what you want is the kind of stuff I want out of this, like engineering out of it, like, you know, I could put 2 holes here and cut a long, thin line and use this as a tape holder. In fact, I will show you that that's what I do here. Here we go. This is some like 7-ply 1/4-inch plywood, and I'm using it to hold up tape. Like, this is an engineering execution of plywood that you could only do with that high quality plywood. You could not do that with this. It would not last. It would not survive. So where was I? Look, the fact is that I use plywood both for building things like boxes and storage, for which these plywoods would be fine if you glued them well and secured them well and clamped them and all that stuff. These plywoods would probably be fine for all of that. But I also use my plywood as an engineering medium, and the tensile strength and the various qualities I get out of Arctic birch ply make it just leagues better for the kind of engineering I'm always thinking about than this stuff. This is another example of what's called a finish ply. And again, you can see here, it's just 3 plies with a veneer on each side. This veneer is a shiny one. It actually makes this hard to glue to. Yeah, I wish more of the world had access to better plywood, because it's such a dream to work with this stuff. It really is. It's just a freaking delight. Yeah, so I want to make it, yeah, I think I've already made that clear. Yeah, I go for the spendy stuff because I use it for way more than a lot of the normal things plywood gets used for. I hope that was somewhat informative. I didn't mean this to be a diatribe on what I do and don't like about plywood, but that is kind of what you asked for. So I appreciate the delightful question. Thank you guys so much. By the way, tested patrons, your questions continue to be awesome. They're inspiring. They engender lots of introspection from me. I often go home after this and tell my wife, like, I came up to this really interesting revelation while answering this question. Seriously, that happens almost every time I do these things. So thank you. Please keep submitting your questions, tested patrons, and I will continue to answer them. Stay safe, wear a mask, and I will see you next time. Thanks, guys. I want to add this one note here, is that as far as so plywood is my main, I've said this at the beginning of the video, and I'll say it for the rest of my life. Plywood's my bread and butter material. But when it comes to solid wood, I really love poplar, and I love ash. I love them for how workable they are. I like them how they feel. And actually recently I made the handle for Hellboy's Samaritan out of cedar, and I also really liked working with cedar, and I really dug the awesome smell of working with cedar. Just thought I should add that before I completed your question. Thanks.